Welcome to this episode of the Common Sense Skeptic, back after a summer hiatus that allowed us to enjoy the first summer since 2020. Basically, we celebrated our 4th year of producing feature film-length content by taking an unintended and impromptu summer holiday. And to get us back into production mode for the fall and winter, we're going to get you caught up to date on Andrew and Tristan Tate's multiple and accumulating legal cases through this interview that their American lawyer, Joseph McBride, did with Tim Poole from Tenet Media. After watching this interview, we reached out to Tim to provide a counter-interview to combat the steady stream of nonsense that was spewed by Joe on this episode. But it looks like Tim and company have some other business to attend to first. Something to do with receiving $100,000 per week to promote Russian propagandist talk points. So we'll cover this interview in our own episode and keep the offer open to any YouTuber or podcaster that would like to know actual, grounded facts regarding the Tate's legal issues, which got considerably more intense recently. As a recap, some of you will remember from our episodes last year regarding the Tates that they were arrested, charged, and detained, along with 2 female minions, for trafficking humans in a continuous form and setting up an organized criminal group. On top of the trafficking and organized crime blanket charges, Andrew Tate caught an additional charge of rape in a continuous form, which is a more serious charge than the 2 individual charges of rape that he was originally facing. Tristan Tate caught an instigation to commit violence charge for ordering Georgiana Nagal and Luana Radu to assault and rob a victim, which Gio carried out, so she caught an assault or other violence charge. And because Gio also revenge porned that same victim on her social media accounts, Gio caught additional charges of illegal access to computer systems and alteration of the integrity of computer data. So in that court battle, Gio has the most charges among the 4 co-conspirators. On the other hand, Luana Radu, a former Bucharesti cop, is the only one of the 4 to not have any unique charges from her file on the first indictment. As we go through these charges, remember, these are alleged crimes, not convictions, although the material is taken straight from the English translation of the Romanian indictment handed down June 15, 2023. However, as of mid-August 2024, there was another set of charges filed for a second criminal trial against Tate and his criminal organization, again providing the caveat and tell you to insert alleged as appropriate throughout this encapsulation and for the rest of the episode. As reported worldwide on August 22, 2024, Tate and 5 other associates were arrested on a great number of charges, some of which are far more serious than the first indictment. First off, this laundry list of criminal offenses includes 34 charges of human trafficking using the Loverboy method for the purposes of creating pornography. There is also a new charge unique to Andrew Tate of forcing a 17-year-old minor from Slovakia to produce pornography. First in Britain and then again in Romania after he transported her there. And Andrew Tate has also been charged with sexually assaulting a 15-year-old child on multiple occasions starting in 2020, including vaginal, oral, and anal sex. As a minor, even by Romanian consent law standards, this child could not consent to sexual intercourse with a man more than twice her age. At the time, Mr. Big Shot Cam Pimp would have been at least 34 years old, while he was bedding this girl in junior high. Between the 6 co-defendants, they are accused by DICOT of human trafficking, including the trafficking of minors, sexual intercourse with a minor, that one's on Tate, forming an organized criminal group, money laundering, and influencing statements, the alleged crimes dating between 2014 and 2024. The 2-hour Tim Poole livestream, featuring Joseph McBride, aired on August 26, 2024, 4 days after the Tate's compound was raided based on the second dossier, and the brothers were detained. They were kept overnight in prison, and the following day were released in accordance with Romanian law, into a state of judicial control. But the new charges against Andrew involving minors got him locked up again in his renovated warehouse for 30 days of house arrest, which is reviewable every 30 days. On top of nabbing the brothers, the arrest raid resulted in more asset seizures, as the Tates have yet to provide a legitimate source of income for the wealth they flaunt. So they lost another 16 vehicles, including Tristan's prized Lada and a minivan, a motorbike, probably the one in this video clip, as well as laptops, thousands of dollars in currency, luxury watches, and data storage drives. All the Tates have to do to get any or all of these assets returned is show DICOT where the money came from that allowed them to purchase these items. So that pretty much gets us caught up to date with the broad strokes of the two separate criminal investigations against Tate and friends in Romania, and we're going to fill in some finer details as we go along. Let's see what their American shyster had to say about these happenings. Of course, we have already covered Joseph McBride a year ago in a special 1-hour Matrix of Lies episode that ripped apart an interview that McBride did with the two Manosphere morons, Fresh and Fit, a year ago this week. Definitely add that episode to your watch list, because there is a lot of great information in there, some of which we will revisit. But right now we're going to keep going with the Tim Pool podcast. This 20-minute excerpt was cut from the 2-hour production, which also covered a large number of unrelated and uninteresting political topics. It's not until around the 1 hour and 17-minute mark that Pool asks McBride about the Tate case. We'll just join the conversation at that point and chime in as necessary.
Let's jump to one last story, and we'll talk about what's going on with Andrew Tate. We have this from the AP. Romanian authorities tow vehicles from Andrew Tate's home after new human trafficking allegations. So this has been ongoing for quite some time. Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan Tate, both of them were kickboxers and dual British U.S. citizens with millions of followers, blah, 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 charged with human trafficking and forming a criminal gang to exploit women. Andrew Tate was also charged with rape in that case. Now, they've been trying to go after this dude. How long has it been? Like 2 years, or what is it?
It's been since it's been almost 3 years now.
Almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
Such a simple question, and McBride can't even get that one right. The raid that began the first Romanian case against the Tates happened in April of 2022. After the raid was conducted, and the Tate brothers provided statements to DICOT, the two of them ran away to Dubai, with whom Romania does not have an extradition treaty. They and their female co-conspirators were caught by Romanian authorities when the boys returned to Romania for Christmas of 2022, so 22 months, less than 2 years ago. They were detained for consecutive 30-day stints because of their previous escape to Dubai. The formal indictment came down in June of 2023, outlining the official roster of charges that the brothers and associates would face, along with another list of charges that were peeled out of this case and into the second full investigation. That was 15 months ago. So when McBride or the Tates tell people this has been going on for over 3 years, they are grossly exaggerating their timeline.
Yeah.
And you actually represent the Tates? Both of them?
I represent both of them. I represent Andrew and Tristan.
McBride does apparently represent both Andrew and Tristan Tate. However, and this is kind of important, not in Romania. His law firm, the McBride Law Firm PLLC, was founded in 2019, and it operates out of a virtual office suite, number 700 Federal Plaza at 305 Broadway, New York, New York. That facility has amenity packages for their virtual offices starting at $179 per month. For $499, you can upgrade to the executive package. Now, judging from the very sparse website, McBride really doesn't have much of a record as a litigator. He mentions the Tates and a single guy from the January 6 fiasco, but no major victories or accolades to his credit. So while McBride might be licensed to practice law in New York, the case he's commenting on is Romanian, and he is not representing the Tates in those proceedings. That dishonor falls to Eugen Videniak, a subservient yes-man that the Tates hired after their original lady lawyer gave them some hard truths.
Our lawyer's a G. Shout out to my lawyer. He is a G. But before we found him, we went and interviewed some bimbo in her suit who sat there and started talking about laws to us.
I walked in there and said, listen, I've committed multiple felonies. Am I going to go to jail? Well, probably. Well, then see ya. Bye. I went to some other man. That was a female. I went to a man's office, said, I've committed multiple felonies.
There are things we can do. We could try this. We could try that.
No problem.
I make one call.
You don't go to jail.
There's no problem.
No problem.
We send somebody else to jail.
We send him. He is the new Andrew. He shave his head and he go. How much
Fix
does
my
it
problems.
cost to make this all go away?
That's what we want to hear.
It would seem that nothing is beneath Eugen. He even passed himself off as a member of the press to disrupt a news conference held by victims of Andrew Tate specifically, who are suing him in civil court in the UK through McHugh Jury and Partners.
Well, no, I just wanted to clarify who we were talking to. He's Mr. Tate's lawyer. Sorry, that's what I wanted to establish. I think you should probably, again, for the sake of transparency and honesty and the manner in which your client and yourself have conducted yourself, maybe be honest.
After that news conference farce that was hijacked by Eugene and Tate's PR woman, we had the pleasure of chatting with Matthew Jury and Jack Beeston from that law firm in an interview on YouTube to make sure that the right information got out to the general public about the case regarding the 4 victims they represent who are suing Andrew Tate civilly for rape and sexual assaults that date back to 2013, reported to the authorities in 2014 and 2015. While the victims would prefer to see Tate face criminal justice and are pleading the UK authorities to reopen their criminal cases that were closed after Tate escaped the UK for Romania, a civil suit is their only recourse at this time for the vicious beatings, strangulations, and rapes that they have sworn in statements happened to them at the hands of Andrew Tate.
The evidence that was gathered at the time, we say, was more than sufficient for a criminal prosecution to have taken place. And it is baffling to us as to why the decision was made not to prosecute in 2019. It makes no sense to us. Whatever happens in the Romanian prosecution, he is now going to be extradited from Romania to face prosecution also in the UK. So the civil case aside, he's got many years ahead of him.
Am I a bad person? Because the more you didn't like it, the more I enjoyed it. I fucking loved how much you hated it. Turned me on. Would you rather me pin you down and make you do things you didn't like, or would you rather you didn't like that I was thinking I can do whatever I want to you? Are you seriously so offended I strangled you a little bit? You didn't fucking pass out. Chill the fuck out. Jesus Christ, I thought you were cool. What's wrong with you?
So as we're moving forward, just remember that McBride is not the legal representative of the Tates in Romania, a point that he fails to clarify. Seems a little dishonest, but not nearly so much as the stories he's about to tell about the woman we'll refer to as the American victim of Tristan Tate.
You're saying these allegations are not correct?
These allegations are 1,000% false.
Do you want to walk us through what the story is and what's going on?
From day one, Andrew and Tristan have obviously, they were all over the place, all over the world, very famous, very influential people. Tristan met a girl in Florida from Miami. The girl asked to go back to Romania with him. He was like, I don't know, I don't think it's such a good idea. Romania's a different place. You have a good life here. She's like, no, I want to change. I want to do this with my music career. I want to have a career online, so on and so forth.
So the great thing about the first trial against the Tates in Romania is that the formal indictment was published last June, and we have managed to obtain a full copy of it. So we know exactly what went down according to those records. When the Tate trial date is finally set, we are going to release a mega series that goes through that 400-page document word for word. So there will be no doubt with regards to the misinformation that will be distributed by the Tate camp during that trial. But for now, as McBride monologues, we'll give you the Coles notes as to what the formal indictment says happened from the text messages taken directly from the WhatsApp chat logs between Tristan and the American victim starting on November 15th of 2021. In December of 2021, Tristan and Andrew were going to be in Miami for a War Room conference. Tristan went fishing online for some companionship for while he was there, and he located the American victim on Reddit, but they quickly moved over to WhatsApp for a private conversation that Tristan initiated. After 45 minutes of flirtatious small talk, where Tristan admits to initiating the conversation between the two of them, and also stating that the victim is exactly what he's looking for, Tristan drops the fact that he'll be in Miami for what he calls a business conference and pretty much begs the victim to attend with him as their first date. She agrees. 7 minutes later, Tristan starts talking to the victim about the possibility of bringing her to Europe, in his words, quite often. He was seriously already pressing her about future prospects, without even telling her yet where in Europe he lived. Actually, he sounded kinda desperate. This was November 15th of 2021. In the days that followed, the text conversation between the two continued, and Tristan arrives in Miami 2 weeks later on the 29th of November. The two of them hook up, and things seem to be going well for both of them. By the 6th of December, Tristan directly asked the American victim if she would move to Romania, 3 weeks after he fished her off Reddit. By December 11th, Tristan is already hounding her, asking her at 4:45 in the morning if she is moving to Europe, and if she has her ticket yet. He tells her that he's putting his management team in charge of her OnlyFans page to take her to 100,000 followers in a month. The catch here is that her OnlyFans page at that point in time was dedicated to her music and her amateur photography. A plan was made for her to join him in Romania as his romantic partner by January of 2022. Mid-January, the victim is getting cold feet. She texts him on January 17th at 4:35 p.m. because she is feeling awkward and tested about their interactions together. Tristan pulls the whole "do you trust me" routine when the victim expresses her doubts to win her over again, and he does convince her to come to Romania. On March 28, 2022, Tristan books her ticket from Miami to Bucharest on April 3rd of 2022, and when she landed, Tristan was there to pick her up in a blue Rolls-Royce Wraith that was registered to Andrew to transfer her from the airport to the walled compound. That is the official record of how the American victim came to Romania. Completely different from the garbage that McBride is spewing here. But let's continue.
She goes to Romania. She meets up with him. She's there for 6 days. After the 6th day, she found out that she wasn't going to be Tristan's wife. Tristan had other women in his life. Lo and behold, surprise, surprise. And she turned on them and accused them of a litany of crimes that are unfathomable and 100% unequivocally false. That triggered, she sent text messages into Florida to her parents and to other people, which triggered an investigation and a swatting, if you will, of their house in Romania.
Yes, the American victim was in the company of Tristan and or his associates for only 6 days. According to the chat logs, she was staying in the compound with Tristan and at his beck and call. On April 6th of 2022 at 7:43 in the morning, while she was in the bathroom, Tristan summoned her via a text, saying simply, "Rape in the smoking room, downstairs." That afternoon, Tristan had already started to pressure her into performing sex acts on camera, which was something the victim was uncomfortable with. And Tristan tells the victim that she can make good money doing stuff like this. Tristan then offers her a meeting with the manager of her OnlyFans account, which would either have been Luana or more likely Georgiana. Both Georgiana and Luana have the American victim on their list of trafficked girls that they are being charged with. The next day, April 7th, the American victim wants to have a face-to-face with Tristan as he's been otherwise occupied while getting the girls to try to convince this victim into cam work. On April 8th, the American victim was relocated by Georgiana from the compound to the cam house, which is a short walk away in what's called the American Village. And once there, the American victim saw what the Tates and the bottom bitches were all about. At 4:09 a.m., she texted Tristan, asking if she could stay in a hotel instead, saying, "I don't mean to be rude, but I can't live like this." Tristan responded 6 hours later, ignored her concerns, and told her not to leave the house. Meanwhile, the American victim met a girl in that house, whom Andrew had brought to Romania from Moldova under the false pretense of marriage, to raise a family as he promised her. Instead, she was dumped off at the cam house after being picked up by Georgiana at the airport, then steadily pressured into performing on camera. This woman was reportedly raped twice by Andrew as he tried to break her down. Once in an orgy where he used liquor and other women to break down her defenses, this occurring in the Marriott Hotel in Bucharest on March 20th of 2022, and the second time a week later at the walled compound where the Moldovan victim swears Tate physically and sexually abused her, threatening to rape her to get her pregnant, and further threatening to lock her in a room until she went crazy. And that happened on March 27th of 2022. The American victim befriended the Moldovan rape victim, and they planned to leave the locked house together under the cover of night, hoping to make it to London, where the Moldovan's sister lived. The American victim, who was in touch with her parents by text, let them know what was going on at the house and what their plans were to escape. But her parents understood that she was in far more trouble than she was aware, and they contacted a family friend, a Marine with training in how to deal with human trafficking situations. He informed his commanding officer, who alerted the American embassy, and according to the indictment, at 7:05 a.m. on April 11th, the local voluntary police force was notified, but Dicot took over the case by order of the Baftea District Court Prosecutor's Office. Dicot commenced raids on the walled compound and the cam house, and upon entry, Tate removed 4 female persons believed to be human trafficked from the cam house. This is what McBride refers to as the swatting of the Tate houses. However, swatting refers to a false call-in of a situation requiring an armed response. Tate did in fact rescue human trafficking victims as a result of their successful raid. At no point did the American victim accuse the Tates of a crime. She did not contact local law enforcement. She had nothing to do with the raid that was conducted. She gave her sworn statement and provided the text chat history from her phone as evidence of her truthfulness, and Tate took the reins from there. Tate is the only entity accusing the Tates and their accomplices of the crimes listed in the indictment.
Now, it's worthy to consider, we must consider the fact that at that point, the United Kingdom had already spent over $2 billion in trying to cancel Andrew and Tristan. So there are a lot of opportunistic people, nefarious characters, who would love nothing more in the world than to see these guys jailed and silenced forever.
So now, McBride is talking about the UK, and he drops the figure of $2 billion that he says the UK has spent to silence the Tate brothers. And we thought that this was a number that he just pulled out of his ass, with no validity at all. But as it turns out, due to the radicalization of youth in the UK, the government has had to provide an extra £2 billion to their nationwide education system to fund programs meant to stamp out the misogyny being spread in schools by boys who have been brainwashed by Andrew Tate. So it's not $2 billion to silence Tate, it's £2 billion in the UK alone to counteract the massively negative effect that Tate has had on UK youth.
The Romanian prosecutor was able, under Romanian law, to bury the facts of the case and not even present all the material facts to the judge or the Romanian public for the first year of the case.
That statement is blatantly false. The Tates were arrested in Romania on December 29, 2022. The formal indictment was filed June 15th of 2023, less than 6 months after the Tates were arrested. They were indicted based on the collection of evidence and through the seizures of electronic equipment from December 2022 to June 15th of 2023, following the investigation that was in process while the brothers were hiding from Romanian authorities in Dubai, and evidence is not released during an investigation. McBride's claim that prosecutors held on to the evidence for over a year? Complete bullshit. Also, this is a single copy of the evidence file that was collected for this case. 75,000 pages worth. This was never going to be released piecemeal. It's cataloged, indexed, and distilled down to the indictment, which in itself is in the neighborhood of 400 pages. That's what the Tates were handed on June 15th of 2023. The Tates have had it in hand now for over 15 months.
We were brought on at some point. We investigated the case thoroughly. We knew and we continue to know that all the allegations against them are false. We understood that the minute that woman from Florida, once she sent these defamatory missiles into Florida, that she was on the hook for defamation in Florida and conspiracy in Florida. So we sued her in a Florida court. We just survived motions to dismiss in that court. That case is proceeding. That case is going well.
So yes, you heard that correctly. The Tate brothers enlisted McBride to sue their American victim for defamation and conspiracy in a Florida court for telling her parents in confidence what she saw take place in the cam house and why she was going to leave early. This is complete victim intimidation. The American victim did not contact law enforcement directly to accuse the brothers of a crime. She did not contact the media. She has not, as an individual, spoken out about her experiences. She is not doing interviews or making money on the talk show circuit. Therefore, even if Tate had not located 6 other victims through their investigation, defamation did not occur. The American victim merely wanted out of the house after finding out what was actually happening there. What's worse is that in this lawsuit, this idiot also named the victim's mother and father, the Marine they contacted, and the Moldovan rape victim who never even set foot in the US. Also, part of the $5 million suit against the victim involves a claim of conspiracy. Well, there's a big problem with that claim, since 4 of the 5 people charged in that civil suit have been released by the court after considering their circumstances on a case-by-case basis. The Moldovan girl who never set foot in the US was removed from the case because she's outside Florida's jurisdiction. The Marine was released from the case because he followed proper reporting procedures up his chain of command, And the victim's parents were the people most recently removed from the suit after the judge went through the details of the case involving them, and he also removed most of the complaints against the victim herself. You cannot be a conspiracy of one. One needs to have a co-conspirator to be involved in a conspiracy, and all the other parties have been dismissed on all accusations contained in the suit. Further, the law may require that at least one overt act be taken in furtherance of that agreement to constitute an offense of conspiracy. In the lawsuit, Andrew and Tristan Tate are accusing the victim of trying to extort them for $200,000, and they have filed text conversations between the American victim and the Moldovan victim that they have sworn into evidence as being proof of conspiracy to defraud. Recently, a new Twitter account called Tate Updates SX put out screenshots of these text conversations, branding them as official WhatsApp chat logs, in an attempt to prove to the tater tots that these two were trying to frame the brothers. The problem is, these text logs are obviously faked. The first clue is that in this screenshot, every date and timestamp is identical, 10:42:29 p.m. on April 6, 2022. That's the first giveaway. And on April 6th, the American victim was still living in the walled compound with Tristan the same day he tried to convince her into starting cam work. She was not moved over to the cam house until April 8th, so big fail on that doc. The second clue is, the full conversations have been leaked, and we can see how the chats evolved with proper date timestamps before they were rearranged by Tate or his associates. For example, this page contains two different segments that are glued together, when in fact they are separated by over an hour of time on the thread. The first on April 10th at 10 to 10 p.m., where the American victim tells her parents that she is remaining calm, deceiving the brothers to make it easier for her to leave, and the one at the bottom of the page where the American victim's mom is talking about the Marines and the American squad being activated. The conversation and context in between these posts has been omitted. If these apparently forged documents are how Tate was planning on proving his case in Florida, he's going to be in for a rude awakening. Additionally, as we mentioned, the Marine who was involved in this chain of events was removed from the case in February of 2024, Judge Robin Rosenberg stating at the time, the sergeant provided valuable information to help investigative authorities when he forwarded a woman's allegation of human trafficking against Tate to a U.S. embassy and military officials. He did what the legal system encourages people who suspect criminal activity to do: alert authorities with the power to investigate and act. According to court documents, the sergeant's actions set in motion the investigation that culminated in a raid of the Tate's Romanian property, where prosecutors in the Balkan nations say Tate and his younger brother Tristan coerced multiple women into making porn on OnlyFans, while the duo pocketed a large portion of the revenue. Considering the Marine sergeant was commended on his actions, it would stand to reason that the American victim's actions, statements, and fears were entirely reasonable considering the outcome of the raid. So, the Florida lawsuit is frivolous at best. But while we're on the topic of conspiracy, the Tates filing these cases against their victims can reasonably be described as a planned conspiracy by the brothers and their legal team that allowed them to publish the victims' names, addresses, personal details, etc. out into the public domain, enabling the Tater Trash Army to harass and intimidate both victims and their family members. This is a despicable act that again should be enough to get McBride disbarred. McBride filed that Florida suit on July 13th of 2023, and even the laundry list of complaints was meant as an overwhelming intimidation tactic. Damages exceeding $5 million for defamation, defamation per se, commercial defamation, false imprisonment, tortious interference of a business relationship, civil conspiracy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and negligent infliction of emotional distress. These two gangster pimps apparently felt the need to bully a 20-year-old female victim into silence. As a result of the harassment from Tate fanatics, the judge in the case ordered the names of the victims to be anonymized, making it illegal for the Tates or the representatives or their associates to name these persons in public. That motion was filed on September 8th of 2023. That same day, Joseph McBride appeared on a Fresh and Fit podcast that is still up on Rumble, complete with a link to the original unredacted filing document in the video description, which is in itself a violation of the court order as it contains the names and personal details of the victims. On top of linking the document, throughout the conversation, McBride, along with Thing 1 and Thing 2, constantly named the victim whose name McBride was now forbidden to speak. And since the linked document is not redacted, Fresh and Fit should be held liable for breaking the law where that victim is concerned. But they were not the only large podcaster channel to pull a stunt like this. Candace Owens also named the victim on August 5th, 2023, doing so continuously in her episode 202 on YouTube, while she was still associated with the Daily Wire, even as other hosts on Daily Wire, such as Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles, had publicly denounced the Tate brothers. Not only did Candace Owens repeatedly name the victim, who was a minor at the time of the legal scenarios she was describing, Owens censored out the name of the 57-year-old man who had repeatedly raped the American victim while she was a minor. After taking 6 years to get this case to trial in Delray, Florida, Keith Fox, also known as the Yoga Fox, was sentenced to 24 years in prison for sexual offenses against this same victim and another female victim, and he's also now a registered sex offender. To wrap up this segment, McBride told Poole that this case in Florida is going well for them.
That case is proceeding. That case is going well.
That's another huge exaggeration. The case is now whittled down to only the defamation claim, and is moving forward into discovery against the lone remaining American victim. And as soon as Tate's doctored text conversation logs are clarified using the real deal from the Romanian indictment, or straight from the source, Tate will be suffering another brutal defeat that will cost him more than his serial tax evasion charge out of the UK that was tried earlier in the year. In a very quietly reported civil case, UK law enforcement authorities determined that the Tates owed back taxes on money seized in their UK bank accounts. Money that the Tates cannot show investigators how they came by legally, which may again lead to more criminal investigations. The Tates did not offer any exhibits in their own defense, and a critically thinking mind would churn over whether or not those exhibits would have given law enforcement more meat to chew on. When this ridiculous intimidation tactic was originally announced in February of 2023, Tate declared it was going to be for $300 million, but they decided to walk that number back a bit, so as not to appear greedy. Here is the sum total of the thought process that went into determining how much to sue Tristan's lover-boyed American victim for.
What are y'all suing her for? How much?
Right now, it's $5 million.
Okay.
Look,
Well, she doesn't have that. She
Compared to what they lost, that's nothing.
yeah, that's nothing. I think this is more of a sending a message.
Yeah.
Than
Yeah.
you know.
a lot of people were like, "This is Andrew and Tristan Tate. Like, why isn't that $5 billion?" And there's a few reasons, right? It's number one, we know she doesn't have it.
Hell no. She don't even got 1M.
Number two, we didn't want the court to think that this was strictly about money.
Yeah.
Do they deserve to be compensated for their damages?
Way more, yeah.
Of course. But this is about the pursuit of truth. So when we were bouncing around the ideas of money and what should we do, it's got to look, and, we were like, what is $5 million? $5 million is the cost of a Bugatti. So Andrew was like, I think I need a Bugatti out of this at least.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Wow.
he's slick. I just took that away from him, but he's slick like that. And, he deserves to get it.
It will definitely be interesting to see how loud these jackasses are laughing when the cell doors close behind the Tates in Rahova prison, because that is what they truly deserve.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
What we were able to do was publish the truth of everything that happened related to that story into the Romanian complaint, right? The complaint has hundreds of paragraphs. The entire story is told there. Once that complaint was published, the Romanian prosecutor, the Romanian judges, the Romanian courts, the Romanian public consciousness, and certainly the Romanian defense team got a hold of it, was able to educate the Romanian public and the court there. As a result of that, they got out of jail, they got off of house arrest, they were able to travel the country, and they were just really recently granted the ability to travel the EU. Somebody freaked out someplace and made a call and said, we have several theories as to why this happened, and said double down the prosecution on them.
At this point, we have to make some additional clarification. The loosening of judicial controls governing the movements of the Tates during their criminal trial in Romania was in no way whatsoever affected by the American civil case. 2 points before we directly tear these claims to shreds. First, McBride fails to mention that before they tried to sue the victims in Florida, they attempted to file criminal complaints against the American victim and the Moldovan rape victim in Romania. That suit was filed on April 12th of 2023, exactly 1 year after the first raid on the Tate compounds. 2 weeks later, the Romanian judiciary rejected the criminal charges against the two women. The Tates appealed that decision and lost again, with the decision declared final in June of 2023. As the article in the Romanian national press stated, the closure of this case regarding the misleading of the judicial bodies gives credibility to the two female injured parties. Certainly a quote for them to keep on hand for future use. Second point, McBride seems to be under the impression that in Romania, the Tates are going to be tried in a court of public opinion, that whatever he publishes will somehow affect the outcome of their criminal trial. And nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, there will not even be a jury of the Tate's peers deciding their fate, leaving the Tate legal team no one to confuse with misinformation. No, there will be one single judge deliberating the facts here, in a courtroom that sees human trafficking and criminal indictments every day as a matter of course. If you take away the Tate social media accounts, the brothers are very quickly reduced to being very pedestrian criminals. They only think there's something special. Meanwhile, the conviction rate of prosecutors in this court for human traffickers reportedly runs around 97.7%. Maybe these two criminal trials against the Tates and their criminal organization can finally bump that number over 98%. So because there is no jury to snowball, with a seasoned judge presiding over the case when it goes to trial, no matter how much fake news material the Tates publish, for the benefit of the Romanian public, it will have no effect on the court proceedings, as they have not to date. So let's set the record straight. The reason why the brothers were released from prison, then moved to house arrest, and on down the line, is because Romania has civil rights and a process in place that allows for defendants to move toward eased restrictions if they are following the rules. The reason why the two boys were locked up in the first place is because they fled to Dubai after the April 2022 raid. After their initial preventative detention and 2 extensions of 30 days, the Tates were granted release to house arrest. After several months of being on house arrest, because they had played by the rules, they were then allowed to move throughout Ilfov County. Then conditions were relaxed to travel throughout Romania. And although at one point they had been granted conditional movement throughout the EU, that was immediately challenged by prosecutors and rescinded in July of 2024. That rescission was in no small part because Andrew Tate told a useful idiot podcaster named Aidan Ross that if he wanted to get in a final interview with the Tates, he had less than a week to get to Romania.
Andrew had hit me up. He said, hey, I'm going to be leaving Romania soon and probably never coming back. If you want to come over and do a week of long streams and content before I leave, I think it'll be big. And he said it's basically now or never.
That video was sent to the lawyers for the UK civil case at McHugh Jury and Partners to pass along up the chain to the constabularies that were actively investigating Tates for criminal charges in another jurisdiction. And within days, the UK issued arrest warrants for both brothers along with the extradition request. Both brothers were arrested and dragged into the cop shop and before the judge, where an extradition request for what is the third criminal trial for the brothers was granted. This one in the UK involving dozens of sworn sexual assault and trafficking victims of both brothers. The only caveat before enacting that extradition order from Romania to the UK is that Romania gets first crack at these defendants. One other thing that this set of events brought about was closing off the Tates' possible escape plan to Dubai. See, the UAE does not have an extradition treaty with Romania, but it does have an extradition agreement with the UK. And now that criminal charges have been filed in the UK, should the Tates get picked up in Dubai, they would immediately be sent to face justice in Britain. That trial is ready to go as soon as their two scrawny asses land at Heathrow. As for their current level of judicial controls, Tristan remains free to move throughout Romania so long as he checks in with the local police department on a regular basis. And Andrew, the mastermind of the outfit, is restricted to house arrest, being reviewed every 30 days, and was already renewed for another 30-day stint, mainly because his new charges in his second criminal case in Romania revolve around minor children. McBride was either being intentionally misleading and or completely ignorant regarding the Tates' current restriction levels when he told Tim Pool that the Tates were recently permitted to move freely throughout the EU, then never providing these very important updates. And again, going back to the opener, the Florida civil case had absolutely nothing to do with any of it. We're 40 minutes into this breakdown already, and we're only about halfway through, so we're going to take a break here and we'll upload the finale shortly. The link for Matrix of Lies, Brothers in Crimes Part 2 will appear here when it's ready to go.